Hello everyone, my name is Emilia and I will have a pleasure to run today's webinar, which is dedicated to the topic of diversity management in international multicultural environment. The main goal of our today's meeting is to understand a bit better what diversity is, to know how a bit more comfy, a bit more effectively communicate and collaborate regardless the differences that we all have. So I believe that we will be able to understand today a little bit more how, despite coming from different kind of environments, how despite of being from different kind of the nationalities, and how despite simply having different kind of the features, still we can understand each other a bit better and we can work in, for example, international environment. To make it possible, we're going to concentrate today on two critical aspects. So first of all, you will even have a chance to take a decision probably. Is, in your opinion, diversity and inclusion some kind of a popular trend or normality? We'll talk a little bit more about different kind of initiatives taken by the companies and taken by the businesses to make sure that they can bring people a little bit more together and let them work in diverse environments. And after that, we will move to the second point, which is going to be dedicated to the aspect of different kind of the values, different kind of the behaviors, also from the point of view of course, international environment. And we will talk a little bit more about that kind of the aspects, that kind of the behavior, which can be quite challenging if we collaborate in international environment. So that's something from the point of view of our agenda. In the meantime, of course, you can let me know if from the point of view of the quality of the voice, of the sound, of the video, of the presentation, everything is okay, because you have two possibilities. You can still use the chat all the time. So whenever you want to add some kind of the comment, add some kind of the remark, you want to share your experiences and your opinions, please feel free to do that. So chat is all the time available to you. And on the other hand, we also have there the Q&A session. So we will do it this way, that the whole meeting is going to take 90 minutes. And I believe that the last 15, 20 minutes, they are going to be dedicated to questions. So if in the meantime you will have in your mind any kind of emerging questions, any kind of question marks, and you will be not sure about something, or you will want to ask about like your particular situation, please do it in that Q&A session, because you have these two functionalities available, chat and Q&A. It will be a bit easier for me, because when you're going to place the questions in Q&A, I will be able at the end to see all those questions and relate. And I have to admit that if it is about the chat, probably, of course, you will see from time to time that I'm mingling my eyes somewhere a little bit and I'm having a look at the chat, but it's not also so comfy for me, I have to say. So of course, again, comments and so on, please add them to chat, but any kind of the questions, please add them to Q&A. And then at the end of the meeting, I will do my best to address all the questions that are going to pop up. What is important also from my point of view is that despite the idea of today's meeting is the webinar, which is usually a little bit like one direction, it means that of course I'm talking rather the most. Still, I would like to make this webinar a bit interactive. I mean, as much as possible. That's why you will have not only access to chat, not only Q&A, but it will also happen a few times during our today meeting that I will ask you to share your opinions in the website, which is called Menticom. I will show it, of course, to you. And then if only you wish, you will be able to just grab your phones or computers, enter the website without installing anything. And just by entering the website, entering the code, you will be able to share your opinions anonymously, obviously. So that will be also the possibility to contribute more, I would say, actively in the meeting. And I think that it would be something that we will start from. So a bit of your opinion, because I would like you to think about this topic or even this words or phrase like diversity management, and think if from your point of view it's a trend or maybe it is something completely natural in which we work right now. I will clarify that a bit more in a moment, but to make it possible, so to make possible that you will be sharing your opinions, I will right now switch the screens. So in a moment you will see my second screen where you will be able to hopefully enter that website, so Menti.com, and you should be able to enter the code which is visible on the top, so 1714014. So you can just take your phones, write there this code. I hope that you can see it. In the meantime, if something doesn't work, if you can't enter, okay, I can see that first of you are already entering, but if something is happening, just please let me know. And I hope that you will be able to enter. So I will wait for the rest of you. Just enter Menti.com, write there this code which is visible on the top, and you should be able to enter the website. I can see that you're logging. Please forgive me that sometimes I'm not looking directly. I would like to say to you, but I would rather have to say I'm not looking into the camera because I have two screens. So especially when you're going to share your opinions via this Menti.com, I will be looking at my second screen. So I can see that some of you are entering. I will wait a bit more. And the question will be again about your opinion if it is about diversity management. So would you rather say that diversity management and the topic of inclusion, just when you hear even that kind of the phrase, it's rather something like a slogan, some kind of a catchword, something what is lately like very, very popular. And the same as a lot of people are talking probably about the VUCA world, the same as a lot of people are talking about ecology, the same as a lot of people are talking about the generation gap. Maybe this is also simply very popular topic that right now, okay, it's like on the top. We are talking and discussing that a lot, but maybe in a moment it will simply shade and we will forget about it. So is it only a slogan, a trend? Or the second possibility for you to choose, is it a normality? Is it something completely natural? Something what is encoded in our DNA? And from the point of view of our business life, from the point of view of our private life, it is just something that we observe on a general basis, that we are different, we are diverse. And especially nowadays, in the era of globalization, remote work, we just work with that, we live with that on our daily basis. So is it a trend or is it normality, naturality, and our DNA? So I can see that we already have like some of you there. So I guess that I can move on. And in a moment, you will be able to take a voice. So choose two answers. So right now in your computers or phones, whatever you use, you should be able to see these two possibilities and you just choose one answer, trend or normality. So a few more seconds for you to take a decision how you would, let's say, define it. Is it trend or normality? Okay, I can see that we have like so-so balanced answers. I know that there is, of course, the cross, but it rather means that there is no good answer for that. And probably it's like really difficult to really take a decision. Is it a trend, just something popular? Because to some extent, I would say it is. Or is it that DNA? So I think that always the best answer in case of that kind of the question is that it depends. And I believe that this is something what we can see also here, that there is like no one simple answer to that. And I believe that one of the reasons is that we have to first a little bit more clarify what diversity is. Because if we don't do it, I think we can treat it like quite superficially. So we can say, yeah, that's just a trend. Everybody is talking about it. The trainers are doing some trainings or webinars on it. We are even participating in that kind of webinar. So yeah, that's just a trend. Something popular, catchy. We can have some kind of certificates on that. Okay, that's it. But probably if we dive a little bit deeper into that topic and simply understand what diversity is, we will be able to divert our attention from this trend to something what is completely normal and natural. So the second task for you, give me a moment, I'm moving a little bit further, is to think about your associations connected with diversity. So think about some keywords, the first thoughts that come to your mind when you hear that phrase diversity, when you hear diversity management, when you hear inclusion. What comes to your mind? Some kind of first thought, first reflection, something that simply just comes to your mind. Here, you can write maybe not the whole sentences, but rather like single phrases. And again, whatever comes to your mind, you can put it there. Right now in your phones, you should be, or computers, you should be able um, to see that kind of the question. I can see that the first answers are already coming. So you have still a moment for you to think about it, to put what comes to your mind. It can be both, of course, something positive or negative, because I can imagine that the associations can be really also different. And in the meantime, when you're going to share your opinions, of course, I'm having a look at them, but I would like to share one more thing. So you still have that place for you. For a moment, I will stop sharing the screen and I will come back to the presentation because I would like to relate to my own opinion and approach connected with diversity management. So it will be about, let's say, like multitasking right now, so you can still place your opinions, and I will relate a little bit to the reason why, for me, that topic of diversity management is particularly important, not even from the point of view of business or organization or my professional life, but I would even say from the point of view of private life. And let me share with you some background of mine, connected also with some mistakes that I fortunately, probably, or unfortunately made. Um, the reason why I'm really interested in that topic of diversity and inclusion is connected with my professional background, which is very, very strongly connected with human resources area. I've been working in that area, let's say, for my whole professional life. And I always had that kind of the feeling, and still I'm talking about it, that I really love working with people and for people. And I remember that when I started working in HR, and then a few years later, I had that kind of internal conviction even that I'm pretty good in communication, in collaboration. So I thought, yeah, HR is really the place for me. And really, I can give a lot to other people. I can contribute a lot to other people because I can communicate, I can collaborate, I understand people. And then, of course, I had to check if that's true or not and understand a little bit more again this topic of diversity. In my previous company, I had a fantastic possibility to get to know different kind of cultures and countries. I was working on different kind of projects, which usually meant that I was just packing myself, taking the suitcases and going to different kind of the countries. And once I decided, or maybe not decided, it was decided that I will go to China. And the goal of the meeting in China was to check and audit the HR processes and the payroll processes. So I went there. I agreed the meeting with the HR manager who was located in China. We went one day to our external provider. We were doing this audit. Everything was going very, very smoothly. They were very professionally prepared. And I remember that at some point when it was like almost midday, so like 12, I checked the clock and I said, okay, well, we are like really pretty effective. I was thinking that probably the meeting is going to take more time, but it occurred that probably we will be able to finish just like after 12. I knew, of course, that 12 is like a regular time for lunch. But when I was checking the timing, I decided, okay, I just need probably like half an hour more to finish the audit. So I appreciated everybody. And I told to the HR manager that we're really very effective in terms of timing. So I will just finish in half an hour. I told him, I know it's like 12 o'clock. So if only you wish, just go for lunch, take lunch. I will just stay. I will finish everything. So you don't have to worry about any other aspects because it's really like fantastic how it's going. So just take lunch, go for a break, and when you come back, I will finish, and then we can come back to the office. But he said, no, no, it's okay. I will stay with you till the end. Okay, fine. We then finished. We came back to the office. And when we were driving to the office, I could see that something is wrong. I was like looking at him and he like seemed that like something is bothering him. So I asked him if everything is okay. I asked him how he feels. Can I do something for him? Does he need anything? But he said, no, 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 everything is fine. Okay, great. We came back to the office. It occurred that it will be a little bit difficult to go for lunch because most of the restaurants at that time were closed. So it was a bit challenging, but okay, somehow we managed. And I remember that in the evening, when I was still analyzing that situation, I had that kind of the thought that from the point of view of my behavior, I did everything what I should have done because I was very open towards him. And this is for me something what is really very strongly ingrained in the idea of diversity, especially if we're talking about international environment. We have to be open to other people, even if we don't understand them, even if we have different opinion, even if something can seem even strange for us. Okay, that's how it can be, but we need to be open. So I thought, okay, I was open because I was asking him questions, what he needs and so on. I was also respectful. And this is another typical quality if we talk about international environment. So I was respectful because when he told me, no, 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 I don't want to go for lunch, I will stay with you, I respected his decision. I didn't push him. I was also curious because when we were coming back, I could see, I could feel that something is wrong. So I asked him what he needs, is everything is if everything is okay. So I was also curious about him. And at that particular moment, for me, those three particular values, they were the most important if it is about working with different various types of the people. So I started analyzing. Yeah, I did everything perfectly. I was open, respectful, curious. Okay, so nothing is wrong with me. I did everything perfectly. But then, of course, I had to take a lesson. And I started thinking that in fact, it may happen, and I'm even sure it happens, that no matter from what kind of environment, what kind of nationality, of what kind of age we come from, we still, as human beings, as human race, we have exactly the same values because we are respectful and we need respect from others. We need others and ourselves, of course, as well, to be open and curious. And I would say that these are the values that bring us together as human beings. But there is one but. And this but means that even though we have the same values, even though we have very positive intentions, and I'm sure that in that situation I had positive intentions, the thing is that we can have different kind of behaviors and different understanding of those values. Because for me, respect meant in that particular situation that I appreciated that he told me, no, I don't want to go for lunch. And I respected his opinion. I agreed to his opinion. But for him, respect, due to the fact that he is coming from China, which is more hierarchical, for him, respect means the person who is higher from me in the organizational structure said she's not going for lunch. So respect means that I will stay with her. I will not leave her because I have to follow my superior. So the value was the same, respect. But understanding of that value and the behavior showed it was a bit different. And I would say that this is the reason why very, very often we have some kind of conflicts or misunderstandings. Because no matter if it is the international environment, no matter if we're talking about different genders, for example, different kind of the age and generations, still we can have the same values, but understanding of those values, it can be a bit different. So let's come back to your answers, which means that again, I will just share the screen and let me have a look what kind of opinions we have here. There is something like the nature of life. Of course, this is just my right now interpretation. So if you want to add something to the chat, just go ahead. But probably I can understand that nature of life is connected with that DNA and something what should be like completely natural if it is about diversity. There is something like differences, of course, which can be again quite difficult to understand, even in terms of what I said, that we have the same values but different understanding, and then okay, we're different, we don't understand each other, so sometimes we will be even reserved. But I can also see that you put there equality, synergy, you put there openness and acceptance. That's a very, very important point because it's connected with understanding. And again, it might happen that somebody from a different culture behaves in a completely different way. I don't understand it. I even don't want to follow that, but okay, I just respect and I accept. I think that accept is even a better word than respect. And I accept that this is about those differences and we still can collaborate, we still can communicate, and we can have good relations even though we have that kind of the differences. So thank you very much for sharing that. And then coming back again to the presentation, I guess I would just summarize and debrief what I said about diversity and what you also placed in Menti. I would relate to the definition a bit of diversity, because I really believe that what is especially crucial from the point of view of diversity is that we shouldn't segregate it into those different kind of qualities, especially demographic qualities. We shouldn't think that, okay, there is, for example, different kind of the age, there is different kind of the gender, there is different kind of the race, nationality, but we should simply understand that we all come from different kind of the backgrounds. We all have different kind of the qualities. And even if it happens that in the company we will have just, let's say, one gender, one age, and one nationality, still we are different because we have different personality. We have different behaviors. We were raised in different kind of the environment. So always, it will happen that there will be some kind of the differences. And despite that, as long as we're going to be respectful, open, as long as we're going to show to the others that we include them and we welcome them, and we're going to create the equal environment, so something that you said also earlier, it's gonna make sure, we are going to make sure that we can really collaborate and communicate. I will just for the moment more come back to those values and different kind of the behaviors. Because I think that not only in multicultural environment, but in any kind of the environment, it may still happen that we will understand those different kind of the values like equality, respect in a bit different way, and our behaviors will be also a little bit separated. So let's say that we would work in the environment which comprises different kind of the generations. And I can really imagine that it can happen that one person, let's say either from some generation or the person who was raised in some certain type of the family, that person, when is going to approach somebody who is higher in the hierarchy, will, for example, bow, will say, hello, Mr. Smith. And it will be for that person respect. And on the other hand, another person approaching the same person, the same somebody, so somebody who is higher in the hierarchy, will say, hey, mate. And still, for that second person, it will be respect. So one person is bowing in saying, hello, Mr. Smith. The second, hey, mate. But still it is about respect. It's just about different understanding. The first person shows respect for the hierarchy and being more formal. The second person is showing respect for relationship, because by this phrase, hey mate, this person is building the relationship, showing I'm open, I trust you, so we can talk. And coming back to what I said at the beginning, or like almost at the beginning, this is really the matter of misunderstandings. And as long as we're going to understand that we have positive intentions and some certain behaviors, they can just be interpreted in a different way, that's going to bring us to better collaboration. I can, of course, understand that it can be a bit confusing because, especially nowadays, when we work in like really international environment, even if we're located in one country, but then we have contact with people from all over the world because we can simply connect. I'm today, for example, in Ireland, where I live. We can simply connect with different kind of people from different kind of the countries. We have right now 4 generations in one company. Quite often we're talking a lot about different kind of the genders, sexual orientation, about different kind of the talents and personality traits which are required and sourced by the companies. So this level of diversity nowadays in companies, I would say it's like really, really huge. So it's perfectly understood that it may happen that we're simply confused. We come to the company, we see like completely different kind of the people, and we have no idea how to talk, how to communicate, to what pay attention, and it is really challenging. That's why what companies do is that they organize different kind of the initiatives which are aimed at making, let's say, our lives as employees a bit easier. So initiatives which should show that, okay, we are different, we are diverse, but still we can communicate and collaborate, and it can be quite comfy. I would also say that those different kind of initiatives, probably some of them, they are pretty positive and beneficial for the employees for better understanding, but some of them, I would say so-so, and not necessarily they're really the best. So let's have a look at one of the initiatives, which is, I would say, like one of the most popular ones. Of course, popular doesn't mean good or bad. It just means it's popular. So one of the initiatives taken by a lot of companies is that they create different kind of the groups inside of the company. So what they can do is that they create, for example, the group for Europeans. They would create the group for people with disabilities. They would create the group for millennials. And people who have those specific demographic features, they can belong to some of those groups. They can meet together, they can discuss, they can talk about different kind of the challenges. So it is like one of the most popular initiatives that the companies organize. And of course, the question again to you in Menti is, in your opinion, that kind of initiative, is it something positive, which will bring people together and let them work in one environment better? Or maybe not necessarily, and maybe this initiative, it is not going to be something what will make people feel that they are included, but rather separated. So is it positive or is it negative? And again, you have a moment to join Menti. So I will wait for more of you. I can see that we have 10 people. If anybody else wants still to join, just go ahead. And you will be able here to take decision. Those groups, which I mentioned, it's okay in your opinion or not, if the company does it. I guess that still somebody is joining. Let me wait just a moment more. And right now you will be able to give your answer. It's like just, yes, it's okay. No, it's not okay. So a moment for you to take a decision, like 20 seconds, in fact. So let me wait a moment and check what you think. So groups for example, Europeans, for people with disabilities, for millennials probably, for Polish people, for Ukrainian people, and so on. So different kind of the groups connected with some kind of, I would say, like demographic features. So I guess that most of the answers is like no. We have, of course, 2 answers which are okay. I think that I would agree with the ones which are visible right now in pink. So I would say not necessarily. And I think that if I were to relate to that, I would say that the main reason why not necessarily is that that kind of the groups which are only dedicated to particular demographic features, they will separate people. Because let's imagine that we're going to have the group like people with disabilities. That's something what I personally remember from school, that there were some kind of like special classes for kids with disabilities, and all the others, they were separated. So it was like they and we. I don't believe that it is something that can bring us together because we will simply not understand each other. We will be rather separated, working separately, and not bringing us together. So let's maybe have a look at the other example. And this time the company would organize some kind of the initiative. I will in the meantime also change the slide in Menti, so you can join as well and you will be able to vote in a second. So let's say that this time the company would decide to organize some kind of the workshop, some kind of a training, which would be led by employees. And for example, people from Generation Z, or for example, Polish people or Ukrainian people or Indian employees, they would run workshop during which they would talk a little bit more about their specifics, their behaviors, for example, about something what is important for them to like communicate and collaborate. So it would be done directly by the employees of the company, and they would run that kind of the workshop. And the same question to you. So is it, in your opinion, this time something positive or negative? If we are going to organize, oh, I think I did too much. Okay, if we are going to organize that kind of the workshops led by the employees of the company, is it okay? Is it a positive initiative, or maybe again, not necessarily? So have a look. You can vote. And let's check in a moment what kind of opinions we're going to have there. So a few more seconds for you, and we will see. Okay, I guess that this time we can see that most of you decided that it's something positive. And again, I would agree with you, because I believe that there is no better possibility to understand each other very well if the opinion, if the information is going to be shared directly by the people who are interested in that. Uh, I know that there are also a lot of different kind of, for example, trainings about different kind of the cultures. And we can definitely talk how about, for example, Polish people, how we behave, what is important in terms of us, what kind of stereotypes happen. So there are a lot of course, trainings about it. The same about different kind of the cultures. And to some extent, I would say, of course, they are very important. They are very valuable because we can understand from this probably like holistic point of view a little bit better different kind of the cultures, their specifics, a bit of the history and so on. But let's say that somebody who is going to come to Poland would participate in some workshops organized somewhere externally about the Polish people. And that would be the information, to some extent, probably that's true one, that Polish people complain a lot. Again, to some extent, I would agree with that. So let's say that the person, some kind of foreigner, is going to participate in that kind of the workshop and here, okay, you have to understand that Polish people are complainers. And that's like natural for them. This is also how they build relations. So if you want to build relations with them, complain. It will bring you together with Polish people. Okay, so I'm a foreigner, I'm entering the company, I start working with people, and I start complaining because I heard from a trainer I have to complain because this is how about Polish people. So I start complaining, but it happens that in my team, all the people who are there, they are, for example, very energetic, enthusiastic. They don't complain. So they will have a look at me and say, okay, like what's wrong with her? Like, why is she all the time complaining? Because they don't behave like that. And on the other hand, if, for example, people from that company are going to organize the kind of the workshops, they will talk about their specifics, their behaviors. They will say what is important for them. We will be able to ask the questions. So even if we do it in that way, there will be the workshop run by Polish people. There will be the workshop run, for example, by Ukrainian people in our company, by Indian people. They will say what is important from their personal perspective. So in fact, it will be the workshop not only about their country and culture, but it will be the workshop about personal needs of some certain group of people. We will be able to ask the questions, we will be able to clarify the doubts, and definitely it will be much, much more easy to do it. Let's have a look at the other example, and let's imagine that we would have such a situation that in the company there would be the open door policy. So all the employees, they would be able to talk with their direct leaders, ask some kind of the questions, contact them in any form, and there will be a lot of mutuality, a lot of collaboration. If you have questions, come to me. I'm like all the time available, accessible, just come to me. But there would be one exception. Let's say in that kind of the company, it would be forbidden to talk directly to somebody higher in the structure. So open policy would be on one level. I can go to my leader and talk with that person, but I cannot go up. And the explanation of the company would be it's the matter of the respect for the hierarchy. So we have open door policy, but if it is about higher levels, no, you can't approach them. So let me again switch the screens. Okay. And you can take a decision this time as well. Is it okay or not necessarily? So let's have a look. A few moments for you still. I'm just waiting. And a few more seconds. So open door policy only in terms of direct superiors. If it is about somebody who is higher, then not necessarily. I can say it's like so balanced. This time I think I would relate to that pink color. Because I would say that if we have that kind of the situation that we are showing, that despite the fact that we are human beings, some kind of the behaviors are accepted for some of the people and some kind of the behaviors are unaccepted, I'm not sure. It's something completely different if we have the rules. If we have the rules, we understand them, we agree on them, okay. But if we have, again, that kind of the separation, here you can do something and you can feel safe. Here, if it is about higher managers, not necessarily. I very often, in that case, if we're talking about open door policy and the hierarchy, have in my head the example of the company which had two separate kitchens. One kitchen was for the operational level of employees and middle managers, and top managers, they had a different kitchen. And it was very clearly stated in that company that it is forbidden for the employees from these operational levels and middle managers to enter the kitchen for the top management. Please believe me that there was no collaboration, no communication. It was very difficult for employees to say something very directly to somebody on the top if they could see, okay, like we can use that kitchen, but here, okay, it's like forbidden to enter. So I think that if we have that kind of separation, that kind of lack of transparency even, it will be something really difficult from the point of view of building really diverse environment. And I think that we can have a look at the last example, which is going to be connected with social gatherings. So let's say that if we work in international environment, something more that we would do would be to organize some kind of the events. And one day we would organize, for example, the meeting during which the Chinese cuisine will be tasted. Another time, we will, for example, talk a little bit and visit some kind of nice spots in Slovenia because we would organize even the trip, or we would simply just talk about it and maybe show some kind of the videos. So we will organize some kind of informal gatherings, informal social meetings. And of course, still the goal would be let's bring people together. So how about that? In your opinion, is it something positive or is it something not necessarily the best? So let's have a look again. That's the last time that you will have the possibility to vote in that kind of the situation. So let's check. So the social gatherings, Chinese cuisine, for example, Indian culture, Slovenian spots, is it something positive or negative? So will it bring other people together or maybe it will separate them? Because we will talk only about particular topics. Let's have a look how we are voting, and in a moment you and I we will be able to see the results. So a moment more, I'm having a look at the results. Yeah, so it seems it's okay. Again, I would fully agree with that, because this is the matter how we can get to know the culture, not only from the point of view of business, but something rather connected with the private ground. So for sure, if it is about some kind of social meetings, social gatherings, even for the purpose of building trust, for the purpose of building some kind of security, for making sure that people will be able to open themselves, I'm sure it's much better. I would even say that that kind of the meeting, at the first glance, at the very beginning, will be even much more valuable than the workshops. Because here, let's say formally, the goal is to meet and taste Chinese cuisine. So everybody will know, okay, I'm just going there to eat, to enjoy. So I have some kind of the goal. And then, of course, when I'm going to eat, I will feel safe, I will feel secure. And in the meantime, I will probably start talking with different kind of the people. And in between, we will be able to talk about ourselves, about something what is important for us. And during this workshop, it can be a little bit more stressful, because I know I'm going there to talk about my culture, to present something to the others. It can be a little bit stressful. So, okay, we will see. So I would say step by step. First, integration, and only then probably we can talk about something more. And probably one more question, which can pop up from the point of view of diversity, especially in that international environment. That's the question, does it even make sense in Poland to talk about diversity in multicultural environment? So does it make sense that I'm here today and talking about it? And I would relate to some timeline, because I remember that several years ago, I think around like 10 years ago, there were different kind of the companies, international companies, which had their divisions in Poland. And they had that kind of the information shared by some Western headquarters. Usually it was about US headquarters, which were telling them, you know what, we have to concentrate nowadays on diversity. And what is really important is that we want to be sure that people from different races, people from different nationalities, they are going to feel welcome in countries. They are going to feel that they can collaborate no matter from what nationality and from what race they are. And I remember that it was quite typical that Western headquarters or US headquarters, they were, I would even say, a bit imposing that kind of the message and communication to be introduced among the others in Poland. And I had like very, very strong question mark at that time in my head, because what is important for me is that everything what we do, everything what we introduced, it has to satisfy our needs. And that's coming back to my first question at the very beginning of the webinar. That's the reason why sometimes we treat diversity as a trend. Because we can see, okay, we have to introduce some kind of the initiatives, but like what for? We don't even need it. And I can really understand sometimes the resistance of people, because they have to do something what is not connected with them, what is not connected with their challenges and their situation. So when I was hearing that kind of the information, let's introduce diversity management and let's concentrate mainly on different kind of nationalities and races. And it was around 10 years ago. 10 years ago, if it is about the Polish market, we can have a look at the slide. We had around 200,000, okay, let's say like almost 300,000 foreigners, immigrants in Poland. It was around 1% of the society. So when we had that kind of the information, let's create diverse international environment, it was like, how? We don't even have foreigners in our country. So how can we create and, for example, employ people from different countries if we just have 1% of them in our country? So it was something what was not tailored, what was not dedicated to our market. And at that time, I would say still it's something what is valid right now, but at that time it was quite typical that we had a huge challenge with, for example, gender gap. We had a huge challenge connected, for example, with inequality of pay, like women earning less than men. There was quite high disproportion if it is about generations. And people who were, for example, 50 plus, it wasn't so easy for them to find the job. So our main problem, I would even say, was gender and generations. Still it is, I would say. So still we're working on that. And at that time, when somebody was telling us, okay, let's forget about gender, let's forget about generations, let's concentrate on internationality and different kind of nationalities, like, really? We don't have it even, so how can we manage that? And of course, the second question is, in 2023, can we still skip this aspect of internationality and multicultural environment? So now I would say no, we have to concentrate on that because first of all, the numbers are completely different. Let's have a look. Right now, we have around 4 million people from different kind of the countries. So we have 4 million immigrants. Here you can see the data of people who are employed because that's about people with social security. So that's about the total number of people, and that's about people who are secured from the point of view of social institutions. So that's about people who work and are employed. So this proportion 2012, 13, and right now is completely different. Now we have around 10% of foreigners in Poland. As a comparison, in US it is around 13%. So it means that, okay, now it's the right moment to think about diversity in terms of multicultural environment. So it is like really something critical, especially that if we compare all that data, how many people we had and we have, we can see that especially within the last 1 year, let's say maybe even a little bit, it started at the end of the pandemic, but especially within the last year, when we have so many immigrants from Ukraine, the pace of international environment development, it was very, very wide. If we compare US and Poland, it was done step by step in US. More and more people were, of course, like traveling and started working in US. And in Poland, like suddenly, we have a lot of people, of course, especially still, we have people from the Ukraine, because they are the majority of foreigners in Poland. If it is about the other countries, as you can see here, if it is about, for example, Belarus or India or Nepal, like each of that particular nationality, it is less, definitely less, much more less than 10%. So still there is not that high level of variety, I would say, but because of this space, we definitely have to take care also of this aspect connected with internationality. And what we can do from the point of view of different kind of initiatives, especially connected with building multicultural environments. I would say, coming back to that groups and separation, that still, in my opinion, it's not good to create the group for Polish people, Ukrainian people, Indian people, and so on, because it will just separate us. We will not understand each other better. So let's do some kind of initiatives which are going to bring us together from the point of view of common goal or even common problem. So let's organize interdisciplinary projects. So, for example, the project connected with running trainings about diversity management. And let's invite to that project people from different departments, people of different skills and competences, people with different experiences. So let's put on the top the criteria, which is typically business oriented. People with different experience, people with different skills and different departments. And for sure, it will happen that additionally they will be of different age, different gender, and different nationality. But it will be not our main criteria. And at the same time, if we organize, let's say, this project about organizing some training related to diversity management, we will collect those people, we'll gather them together, they will be working, they will be thinking, okay, what we can do, what kind of ideas we can have, what kind of problems we can face. So they will be having the common goal, the common problem, and again, between the lines, they will be also getting to know each other a little bit better from the point of view, for example, of that aspect related to internationality. So they will be meeting, and let's say at the same time they will see they have a little bit different approach to punctuality. because there will be people from different environments, and let's even say from different countries, and they will see, okay, some people are coming to the meeting at 9 a.m. if the meeting starts at 9 a.m. Some people are coming to the meeting, for example, at 9:15. The other ones, they are coming at 8:30. So they will see, okay, we have a bit different approach if it is about the punctuality. So we have to consider that as well. We can organize also something what I would call like Friday market. So something related to these social initiatives, which we mentioned earlier. So we can organize, for example, this Indian cuisine lunch, some like traditional outfit of Mexico, which is going to be described. So we can organize different kind of the initiatives, connected, for example, also with some projects. So not only those social gatherings, but we can invite people to share something more from their culture. We can tell them, let's create the company guide in which everybody from different kind of the countries is going to describe what is worth to sightsee in their country. Let's create the cookbook, for example, in which everybody from different kind of the countries, they are going to place their some typical recipes from their countries. It will again bring people together. Let's organize some kind of the workshop during which people are going to talk about their sense of humor, and they will share some typical jokes, because it is also something what is very confusing. So let's bring people together. Let it be not only like this interdisciplinary project, but also something a little bit like fun and entertaining that will again bring people together. And one more thing which I would mention, especially from the point of view of those numbers, which I placed earlier, is that if we want to work in international environment, if we want maybe to change and we want to start employing people from different nationalities and cultures, of course, first of all, we have to give them and share with them that kind of information. We are right now open for people from different cultures and different nationalities. And definitely, it is not enough to share the information in the job, for example, advertisement. We are employing also foreigners. It's like no message at all. So if we want to invite people from different kind of the cultures, the first thing we have to know is what kind of challenges they can be facing when they come to our country. We can, for example, put ourselves into their shoes. So imagine if I were to move to another country, what kind of the challenges I could face, what kind of information I would need. And I'm pretty sure, and I can even say it from my own experience, when I was moving to Ireland, I didn't think what kind of the career opportunities I'm going to have in Ireland. That was not my point. I wanted to know, first of all, where I can live. So what kind of the area is the area in which it will be like to have nice, pleasant life. It will be easy, for example, to commute to different kind of the areas. It was something important for me. I wanted to know how about the schooling system because I have a child, so that was important for me. So please believe me that I was not thinking about work at the first glance. I wanted to know how about the living conditions, and that's how we can attract people from different kind of the cultures to come to our company and to work with us. Of course, then we can talk about the career development opportunities and so on. But first, let's think what kind of the challenges, what kind of information is necessary for people coming to our country. So what the company can do is that instead of placing information in job advertisement, let's come to us, we employ foreigners, is that they can organize some kind of the workshop during which they will talk a little bit more about, for example, the medical care in Poland. It is for sure important topic. So the meeting, that kind of the workshop, that kind of open days, they wouldn't be created to attract foreigners to work for us, but it would be in fact a little bit different information. Medical care in Poland. Here you can find this information. It can be about creating some kind of instruction, some kind of the guidelines, what you need to know before or when you're coming to Poland. I can give you the example from my background as well, because I've been living for all my life almost, apart from, of course, this like foreign ones. I've been living and I come from Gdańsk. And I remember that it was like pretty typical that there was like one district in Gdańsk which is near the landfill. So the place when the garbage is kept. So the smell, you can imagine, it's like really awful there. And not many people, I mean local people, wanted to live there. So what was happening was that a lot of foreigners, they were choosing this place to live there, not because they wanted. They had no idea that in the neighborhood there is this landfill and it won't be so pleasant to live in that area. And that was the information which was critical for them. Where should I live? Because how could they know? So that kind of the information, it is really something important and critical from the point of view of working and living in international environment. And only then we can definitely move further. One more aspect which is also, I would say, very, very important from the point of view of multicultural communication. It is something strictly connected or almost strictly connected with Polish people. Because I also know and I also notice that sometimes it is not so easy to even start working in international environment because our first thought is, oh my God, my English, it's not good enough. How can I work in international environment if I don't recognize the differences between, I know, present perfect and present continuous? No, no, I can't. My level is not like C1, C2, so no, no, no. I have to work in Polish environment. No way that I'm going to be in touch, for example, with people from the UK. And please forgive me that word, bullshit, because it is about our encoded beliefs and convictions. Please believe me that if you work with people from different kind of environments, if you work with natives, they will really, really appreciate that you use English. They don't care if you use the proper grammar structures. They often don't use them as well. If you observe people, if you listen to people from the UK, from the US, you will really hear that they are not using present perfect, continuous, third conditional, and so on. They don't do it because they want to communicate. They want to understand each other. They don't care if it is grammatically proper or not. In Poland, I would say we do the same. We don't care if the grammatical structure in Polish is proper or not. We don't even remember them, I think. I'm sorry for saying that, but I think so. So the most important aspect is that we need to understand that as long as we're going to invest that effort and start speaking, for example, in English, it will really bring us closer to communicate with different people, not only the natives, but also people from different cultures. And that's the important aspect if we work in multicultural environment, that we have to understand that in that environment, there will be, of course, natives, but there will be also people from different kind of the cultures. And what is here especially important is that they are also on different level of English. So what we have to do is to incorporate the nicely called poor language culture. What it means? It means that we just have to make sure that we can understand each other. So that would mean that if I will be some kind of like high level manager who would be the native, and I would come to the company using very sophisticated, very advanced vocabulary. I will be using the idioms on purpose. I will use one of them because I will have it also further. Like, I'm beating about the bush. If you're on the fence about something, I'm pretty sure that if I was using that idioms, people would be like, really? What are you even talking about? So even natives, they really perfectly know that they have to talk with people the way they are understood. Not only because, okay, I'm the native, you're not, but because we have to use like simple understood language to be able to communicate in one environment. So I really personally love that kind of the culture, that as long as I'm going to be understood, as long as people can ask me the questions. Because if I say something, sorry, but stupid, probably something improper, something unclear, that's my problem. I did it. And you have right to ask me the question. You have right to ask the question the natives. Believe me, they will be not offended. So it is also something important to talk in English, I would say on that kind of level, like average level, to make sure that everybody from different kind of countries, cultures, they will be able to communicate and to collaborate. And the other thing, which is also very specific, if we talk about multicultural environment, is that very often when we work and live in certain country, in that international environment, we follow something what is called code switching. So we simply apply the certain behaviors from a given culture. That's something what I would say is visible when foreigners are coming to Poland, that even if naturally the person would be, for example, very sophisticated and very formal, using the real English language, the person would normally say, would you be that kind and send me the report? Which sounds very nice in English. But probably if we wanted to share that kind of the sentence in Polish, it would sound a little bit weird because we are more direct. We don't use all these like sophisticated, extremely polite phrases, not because we are impolite. We simply have a different language. And I'm sure that when somebody comes to Poland and starts living with different kind of the people, the person will say, okay, so normally I would say, would you be the kind and send me the report? But after some time living in the environment and observing the people, the person will say, can you send me the report? And that's it. And that's about code switching, that we're adjusting our language, our behaviors to the environment in which we live. And that's also something what makes it a little bit easier for people from different environments to communicate together, because that's something even what we have subconsciously. We need to know that we are similar. We need to have some common points, some common goals to be able to communicate. And apart from that, there is also one more aspect which is very important from the point of view of diversity, which is the inclusive language. And this inclusive language is connected with making sure that we are going to talk, to behave in that way which is not going to be attacking other people, which is not going to be offensive to other people. And I would say that the most important aspect of this inclusive language is the fact that not only we need to have positive intentions when we talk with other people, but what is much, much more important is that we need to understand that something what for me is perfectly okay and I have very positive intentions, and I will say something to appreciate another person, it will be only my perspective. But from the point of view of the second person, not necessarily it is going to be treated as something positive. Let's have a look at some examples. Imagine that I would say to somebody, oh, we in the West have much more knowledge in that area. Even in if I say something like that, because let's say like I live in the West and I'm talking with somebody who is from the East. Let's say that my intentions would be positive. I just said it because it is like natural for me to say something like that, like West, East, South, and so on. But for sure, for the second person, it can be something stigmatizing because we can have also that kind of encoded convictions. West is better, richer, East not. So somebody who is going to hear that kind of the sentence, we in the West have much more knowledge in that area, that person can think, okay, somebody who said it is treating themselves like superior, better. Okay, I don't want to talk with that person. Or another example, I would say to somebody, oh, you don't look Indian, you don't sound Indian. Because again, I have some kind of encoded conviction that people from India have quite specific accents. And I want to appreciate this person, say, oh, you have a very nice accent. But unfortunately, instead of saying about accent, I will say, oh, you don't sound Indian. And again, for that person, it's like, really? What does it even mean? Because I didn't appreciate this person's competences and skills, but I created some kind of stereotype in my head. The same here. I'm really impressed. I would not expect punctuality from Italian. And again, I have, let's say, positive intentions, but it is also my stereotype. So I wanted to appreciate somebody for punctuality, but at the same time, I use the stereotype that automatically I think, okay, Italian people, no punctuality. So I'm impressed that somebody's Italian, came to the meeting punctually, and that's what I would do. I'm impressed. I would not expect punctuality from Italian person. So sometimes we're using that kind of the phrases and we don't even pay attention to it. And the specifics of this inclusive language is that let's not only look at ourselves, even if the goal of our sentence, even if our intentions are positive, we have to switch the roles. We have to check how another person is perceiving something. And at the same time, I know it can be confusing and it can be like really frustrating. Because right now, when we talk about this topic of diversity management, about inclusion, I heard many, many times that kind of the opinion that it's crazy. That right now we have to focus on each particular word, and sometimes it's even better not to say anything, to shut up, because maybe we will offend somebody. And I can really understand that it can be confusing because this is not only the matter of generations, gender, nationality, sexual orientation, but this is the matter of also our like personal encoded convictions. It's the matter of our upbringing that I can say some sentence. For me, it's positive, but for another person it's not. And then I think if I'm gonna think each time if somebody is going to feel offended or not, I will not manage that. So okay, better to sit and say nothing. But on the other hand, if we want to be able to talk with other people, to be able to communicate and have comfy, let's say, and safe life, let's just do it. So let's have a look at that second perspective. uh, it can be difficult because quite often, if I'm talking about these intentions, it can happen that I want to say to something to somebody, to appreciate that person, to give the compliment. And I know that me personally, I would treat that sentence which I'm sharing with the others like very, very positively. But at the same time, I will see that this person doesn't react in that positive way. I think that the best example of that is related, for example, to different kind of the genders. If it is about men, when they are going to give some kind of the comment for, let me have a look, sorry for the notes because I didn't place it here, 66% of men, they are going to treat some sexual remark as the compliment. So if man is going to say, oh, it's like really very nice to have a look at you, oh, such a nice lady, for them it's compliment. And on the other hand, only 17% of women would treat that kind of the remark as the compliment. And then we have the conflict because somebody is saying something like with that Italian, Indian, and so on. They think, okay, it's a compliment, it's appreciation, but the second party doesn't see it this way. That's why what we have to do, especially working in multicultural environment, which is not clear for us, we have different values, we have different kind of the behaviors. What we have to do is simply to ask, how do you want me to call you? How shall I pronounce your name, for example? How do you want me to behave towards you? What kind of behaviors I should avoid? Is there anything that you don't like in my behaviors in communication? Of course, I can do it at the very beginning when I'm getting to know somebody, but let's also remember that it can be challenging as well because it might be connected with the situation where at the very beginning we don't have trust, we don't yet have the security. So if I'm going to ask somebody what kind of the behaviors are okay or not, the person would not give me the clear answer. That's why from time to time we have to come back to that kind of the question, to the rules of communication, to collecting some information anonymously to be able to communicate. And then suddenly it will occur that if I'm going to give that kind of the comment like, oh, you don't sound Italian, after some time when we already have well-built relationship and we will organize this Indian cuisine, for example, event, then somebody will tell you, you know what, like that kind of the comment, not necessarily. Oh, okay, I didn't know it, sorry, it was not my intention, of course I will not do it. And that's how it is, just like simply easier to communicate. On the other hand, uh, finishing, in fact, our today's webinar, I would relate to two more aspects which can be challenging in international communication. And I would say that something what can be like really challenging is the difference from the point of view of hierarchy. Because as long as we have a bit different approach in different kind of the countries and the cultures to punctuality, or for example to project management, let's say that probably we can find some kind of the compromise. So for example, if it is about the punctuality, if it happens that, let's say in Poland, we would have that kind of the habit that we like having the team meetings at 8 a.m., very early morning when we just start work. And in our team, we would also have a person from Spain, not generalizing, not stereotyping, sorry, I can't pronounce the word, not using stereotypes. If we had that kind of the person, let's say that it would happen that for this person, that kind of early meeting, not necessarily. So what we can do is that, okay, for us, 8 a.m. is okay. For this person, not necessarily. So let's meet in the middle. So we can have probably the meeting at 9 and still, okay, we can make that kind of the compromise and we can agree on that. So in some matters, it's, I would say, much easier to find some ways of communication, of being able to collaborate. But hierarchy, I would say it's really difficult because it is something what is really encoded in humanity a little bit even. It is something what is encoded in the culture, in the religion sometimes, and it's the matter of respect. That the way how we treat hierarchy, this is the way how we show this respect. Something what I mentioned at the very beginning when I was giving that example from China, that not following hierarchy, it would be the signal I don't respect somebody. So it's against my moral spine. That's why if it is about working between two types of cultures, the ones who have very high hierarchy, so levels of organization, they are very important for them, and the ones which are more partner oriented, it will be something what can be really difficult. Because it may happen that we are going to organize some kind of brainstorming session, some ideation. And during this kind of the meeting, we would say, okay, let's share the ideas. Let's talk about pros and cons of these ideas. Um, I would be, for example, the manager, and I would say to my team, I will share the idea, but of course, if you don't like it, if you believe that something has to be improved, has to be changed, just tell me. I'm very open for that. And probably for that kind of the cultures in which we have partnership, no problem. If I'm going to say something what is improper, not the best, something what needs improvement, they will simply do it. But for some kind of the countries and cultures, like for example, the Asian ones, if I'm going as the manager, share some idea, if I'm going to mention some kind of the standard, they will not question me. They will not tell me, maybe we can improve it a little bit more. They will not tell me about the risks because for them it would be lack of respect. So what I would say in that case can happen is that I will relate to also my experience. What we can do in that case is that I remember that when I was working with one of my peers in China, I was never ever sharing my ideas first. I was asking her the questions like what we can do, what we can implement, how we can introduce something, because I knew, and at the beginning I did it, I knew that if I'm going to share my idea first, she will say, okay, even if she knows that it's not a good idea. So when I wasn't sharing my ideas, for her, it was easier because she wasn't questioning me, my decision, but she was sharing the ideas, and then it was pretty okay. Another example, which will be also difficult from the point of view of this hierarchy, is the situation where, for example, the Japanese or Korean headquarters, they will implement some kind of a standard, some kind of the procedure in Europe, especially in that kind of the countries, like for example, Denmark or different kind of Scandinavian countries, which are more partner oriented. For somebody from Japan or from Korea, it will be pretty natural and normal. Okay, we are here in the hierarchy, we are imposing some standards, so just do it, implement it. And for them, if we're going to ask questions, if we're going to raise some kind of the concerns, it will be disrespectful. So that's again that kind of the situation where it can be a bit confusing and really challenging because we have a different approach to the hierarchy. And on the other hand, it can be pretty similar if we're talking about feedback. Here, I can recall some kind of situation where I was working on some project connected with introduction of standards related to sharing feedback. And the company, they wanted to increase the awareness and competences of employees from the whole organization, different kind of the levels, how to share feedback. And they said that they want to especially concentrate on the upward feedback. So the feedback given by employees to their leaders. And again, in some cultures, the ones which are more flat, the ones which are partner oriented, sure, no problem. I can give feedback to everybody. But in that cultures which are rather hierarchical, like for example in Asia, it would be the same with Korea or Japan or China, very, very difficult. Because feedback to somebody on the top, especially this, let's say, like negative or improvement feedback, this is the matter of questioning my boss. It is the matter of undermining the authority, something disrespectful. So it can be again very difficult if we think about different kind of behaviors like giving feedback from the point of view of the culture. On the other hand, if we have a look at the USA, if in USA I'm going to use the phrases like boss, supervisor, subordinate, something what is going to show the hierarchy and the differences, that's not something respectful. And there I have to be more concentrated on partnership. So I can use the phrases like associate, peer, even if somebody's on the top. And here are operational employees. It won't be about showing, oh, I'm the boss and you're just the employee. We have to show equality, but that's again the matter of different kind of the hierarchies. And I think that with that I would finish talking about that aspect connected with diversity and just of course some kind of tidbits related to that. If you are especially interested in the topic of diversity in multicultural environment, I placed here the book, which in my opinion is really very valuable, and it gives a lot of additional insight how we can work in international environment. So the culture map, written by Erin Meyer, and that's from my point of view the book which can be like really, really valuable. I guess I would just relate to one more thing connected a bit to that code switching. And here I think I would share even like my personal experiences connected with Ireland in which I'm living, and something what I also observed even in myself, but also among people, that really the more we work internationally, the more we have the possibility to travel internationally, the more I would even say cosmopolitan we become. And then it's simply much, much easier for us to communicate with anybody, but also to adjust a little bit. Because I can say from my own perspective that when I came to Ireland, it was for me like pretty typical having, let's say, like my natural approach and also the Polish approach to be very, very hardworking, goal oriented, a lot of work, being very effective, and again, hardworking. I can see that there is a question about getting the presentation on email. So of course, we can place it, not a problem, as only as you were registering to the webinar and we have the contact to you, then of course, we are going to place it as well. So of course we can do it as well. So of course we can do it. If there is still any more question, please add. And coming back to the story, I can say that again, at the very beginning, hardworking, goal-oriented, yeah, and just doing. And I remember that there was some point when I started observing the Irish people who are simply enjoying their life. They're not so fast, I would say, in comparison, of course, to Poland. They are not so extremely hardworking, again, of course, in comparison to Poland, because I'm not saying that they are not hardworking. I just noticed that it is like really fun, I would say, and it is something what I could really enjoy. And I noticed by myself that I slow down a little bit. And very often when I'm talking with people, Polish people living in Ireland, they say the same, that when they came to Ireland, at the beginning they were very fast, very effective, very hardworking, but after some time they adjusted to the environment, and then even when they are coming back to Poland, they still follow a little bit this Irish approach. So it is also something very interesting that when we get to know different kind of the people, like different nationalities, different kind of the generations, we can simply learn and we can just gain a lot of benefits and also incorporate. Thank you very much. I will still wait a few more moments. Of course, I can probably also say that I really appreciate that you decided to join the webinar. So I'm really grateful that you decided to join me today, especially that probably it's like a working time. So I can imagine that it can be a little bit challenging. And at the same time, I can see that there is a question. Give me a moment to read it. So just a second, I have to do it silently. Okay, I can see that there is the question connected with employing a person from the USA and some kind of the anxiety if it is going to be about some kind of unpleasant racial experiences. Mm, I guess I would say that first of all, it all depends like how this person is going to build the relations. Because if you are located in that smaller, give me a second. Okay, if you're going, for example, to propose this small town where you're located and you know that you will be there will be also other people with whom this person will be able to build relations, that's perfectly okay. So this is the matter of creating some kind of the possibility to accommodate to a given country. I know that it can happen, that there are some kind of the places in which the discrimination, for example, this racial discrimination especially can happen. But I guess that it is still about some single situations, because I would say that no matter where we are, big city, smaller city, still a lot of people they are becoming more and more open. So as long as we are just going to make sure that this person is going to feel confident, because we will be with that person, we will be spending time, we will be organizing some kind of the initiatives. I'm not sure if I would say that this is the matter of big city or the small town. This is rather the matter of creating that kind of the possibilities. So if you know that you're located in a small town and you can organize something, some kind of the meetings and so on, that's perfectly okay, as long as it doesn't work this way, that you know that in that particular small city in which you're located, there is a lot of racial discrimination. It's difficult for me to believe, although I know that there are some kind of incidents, but if you know it, of course, probably bigger town, it would be like much better. But if you know that still it's pretty okay, there are different kind of foreigners, even in that small town, and you will be able to accommodate this person, take care of this person together with the others, that's perfectly okay, I would say. If there is some additional question to that question, please let me know, because maybe I have to clarify something more. And if there is anything more, also I'm waiting. Relating also a bit to that example which was placed here, I can say how it was when we were moving to Ireland, where to some extent there is also a bit of discrimination. And for example, we decided finally to live in some small village, and we have that kind of the feeling that people are here much more open. And for example, my son, he enjoys living here a lot. And I think that this is the matter of generally openness of people, that they build relations. They are generally much more open to each other. So we personally enjoy living in some small village much more, and we don't experience any kind of unpleasant situations. Although I know that it happens that, for example, in Ireland or in the UK, there are that kind of the situations that even Polish people, they might be discriminated. Let me check if anything else. If there is again any additional question to what I said about this person from America, please let me know if I should clarify something. If we want to make sure that people from different countries will be able to find themselves in Poland, I would come back to something what I said at the very beginning, that as long as we're going to prepare for them some kind of instructions, even with like typical words that can be used in Poland, it will be also easier for them, like taking them to some kind of like traditional Polish restaurants so that they could feel the spirit, or explaining, for example, our behaviors, especially if you said about America. I know that something what can be a bit confusing is that if you live in the USA, uh, it's like quite typical that you can just approach somebody on the street, just smile to that person, ask this person how they are doing. And in Poland, not necessarily. If we're neighbors, I think it's a little bit better. But if we're just passing the street, for example, and we're seeing other people, it's not so typical to smile to others, for example, to chit chat with them. So sometimes it's about explaining that kind of the nuances and telling to others that, okay, the fact that, sorry, Polish people don't smile to each other on the street, it doesn't mean that we're impolite, we discriminate others, or we don't like other people, but also this is like our specifics. We don't feel comfortable with that. But when we're going to organize some kind of the meeting, when you will enter, for example, the restaurant, you will meet other people, you will participate in some kind of event, some kind of cultural entertaining initiative, you will see that people will very easily come to you, talk with you, and as long as you're going to approach them, it will be much easier. So even explaining that kind of the nuances, I would say it can be like much easier for people. On the other hand, that's something what I can of course also observe here, that like Irish people, they are very open at the very beginning. So when you meet somebody like on the street, it's pretty typical to say hiya, like how are you, for example, to just have a small chit chat, to smile to each other. And at the same time, for Polish people, it's not so easy at the very beginning. So very often when somebody is going to ask us, for example, in shop, how are you? It's like, okay, because we don't know how to behave. It's not natural for us. So it's about that kind of the nuances. I can see some kind of the comment. Frenchman on vacation. Krakow and the city gave him a lot of racism. I can understand it because it's also about some also like in interpersonal experiences. So I don't know if it is the matter of the like city and town, because it's also about the people, that we can meet people who are going to be very open and we can meet people who are not. And I don't know if it is the matter of, for example, international environment or generally that we like similarity, and it might happen that we, if we are not used even to differences, we will be discriminating others because simply this is something we don't know. So I think that it is really the matter of different kind of the qualities and like different forms even of unfortunate discrimination that we can face. So yeah, sorry for that man, that he was unfortunately experiencing racism. I have a feeling that we do not have any more questions. If still something is going to pop up, please let me know, or you can write to us. I saw that there was that kind of the question about the presentation. So again, those of you who were registering to the meeting, so we have your permission to share with you the information. Of course, we can send it to you. Um, I'm again thanking you very much for participation in the meeting, and I hope to see you soon during the next and following webinars. Thank you very much.